Commissioner Smith, will you give us the prayer and pledge, please, sir?
Our Father, once again, we come before your presence, humbly asking you, Heavenly Father, to continue to lead, guide, and direct us, that all that we shall say and do be pleasing and accepted in your sight. Bless our transactions this day, and we give you all the glory. In our Son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Got a set of minutes in there from the May 21st CRA meeting. Any changes? If not, look for a motion to approve.
I moved for approval of the May 21st, 2025 minutes.
Motion by member Drago,
Second.
second by member Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, anybody from the public wish to speak on just general speak? Or- You're it. Yes, ma'am. And if you'll give us your name and address for the record, so we need to get back to you.
I
What's
live in Apopka. I honestly, I don't know what y'all are gonna do with the property that we're discussing. I'm here to learn. But it's so gorgeous.
Well, if you're going to talk about the item, we'll let us bring the item up. I thought this was
Okay.
like for
So then
general
I'll just talk
comments.
about, I got
Yes,
a lot
ma'am.
to talk about.
Okay.
No worries. So I honestly just wanted to ask y'all to focus on the community. I learned last night that South Apopka is an unincorporated area. It's not a part of regular Apopka. That's insane. I really don't understand how in 2025 there's an unincorporated area and it's just the area that was segregated for like ever until 55 years ago. I really think that we should put it up to the residents of South Apopka to vote and decide on how to amend the injustice. And I wanted to thank you for bringing it to my awareness because I had done a bunch of research about Apopka's history and I never found this online until I saw the articles about 2023. So I would love if that could get done. I also would love if we could stop giving all of our taxpayer monies to the police. I don't think that we need to give them like canine healthcare and pay for their uniforms and pay for scholarships for their 6 months of school. I really think that if we could do the college reimbursement for like increase that, because the college reimbursement was like $25K, the scholarship for cops was like $100K. So if we could just swap those numbers and invest in social workers, that would be super dope. It would really help our unhoused population. And I would just like y'all to also support Orange County's decision that they made yesterday to end ICE involvement with IGSA. I don't know if they decided or if they decided to talk about it, but if y'all could support them, because I know that they fear federal retaliation and they fear the state cutting off access and stuff. So if we could prove that like we got us and we keep us safe, I think it'll help them be brave and stand up to resist. Our neighbors are like full of immigrants. It's insane that I don't know if y'all go to Key Foods, but it's been empty since this whole ICE raid happened. Like it used to be so busy I could barely cope with being inside, and every time I go now it's empty. On Saturdays, on Friday nights. ICE.gov said that since November, 10 people have died in custody. 6 of them happened in Florida. 3 were at Chrome Processing Center in Miami, and Orange County sent people there. So I really I need y'all to lead, and I would love if we could work together and just be brave together and do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Presentation. Bobby.
Good evening, Bobby Howell, interim CRA Executive Director. This item is being brought to the CRA board this evening. It's a potential property acquisition at 161 East 6th Street. We were contacted by the realtor, wanted to know if the city was interested in purchasing this property. It's located at 161 East 6th Street. They're asking $299,000 for it, and the property is 0.42 acres in size. This is a graphic of the flyer that's included in your packet as well. And we would like to ask the CRA board if they're interested in purchase and provide direction to staff on this. Any questions? I invited the realtor, but it appears that he did not attend this evening.
Any,
I guess what would be the intended use? What
Whatever,
would be the intended use of this property?
whatever the board feels would be best. Yeah. First of all, I guess we would ask for direction whether or not to purchase or at least have an appraisal done on it, and then come back and we'd have to go through the proper protocol.
it's the block right on
Yeah,
the back side of the city hall.
literally like a 2-minute walk from here. Yeah.
That would be somewhere we would consider that part of the city downtown center if we were to purchase that.
Whatever the board would want to plan on that property would really be. It's my understanding that this piece here is the Cobb Center, and then this is the vacant piece of property. It's got a lot of trees on it. So in order for it to be developed, somebody would have to remove the trees. They'd have to pay into the city's tree mitigation bank, which is $15 an inch. We'd have to know what the caliper size is on it, and that's how we would determine the fee. It's my understanding the future land use on the property is commercial, which only allows currently a 0.25 FAR floor area ratio. So it means a quarter of the site could be used as building area. So rough math would be about an 8,000 square foot building currently if a private property owner is going to buy it.
And Bob, just for the record, show them where the museum is. Is that I think, if we're going to expand the museum, it would be
It's right in
that
here.
that building. Yeah, yes. So if you were, if we expanded that, you could be additional parking or depending on how you go with the building. If you go east but anyway, so is right across the street then from where the new public safety building will be going. So,
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
if I can,
sure.
I went by the property and looked at it. So my observation is this: the property is not blighted. Number one. Number two, if the city were to purchase the property, then the productivity rate decreases because it's public property. And unless the statute changed, if the city wanted to do anything with that property after it takes possession, they got to use the RFP process in order to sell it, develop it, or whatever. Now, I think the prudent approach would be, and the city just hired an economic development director, and I looked at her resume. So I think to be fair to the CRA and to give the new person an opportunity to get her feet on the ground, get acclimated with the community, get acclimated with the procedures, get acclimated with staff. She should be given the opportunity to evaluate this property to determine its functional use in the future. And she can come back at a later date with her recommendation. So I think trying to buy it now, given the information we don't have enough information. And I find it odd that the realtor is not here to answer the questions. I don't know anything about this realtor. I don't know if he just sells property or is he a developer real estate person. I don't know that. But I don't think he should think that the CRA is a cash cow either.
Okay.
Member Velasquez?
Listening to Member Drago's kind of his insight about it is, I think it's best to wait until the economic developer director come in and kind of assess,
Right.
because she's going to be handling the CRA.
She will be the CRA
So give
director.
her
Yep.
some time to kind of evaluate what we do have there and how do we want to move forward, rather than us kind of just deciding keep it, sell it, not.
Mhm.
And he's right. I mean, if the realtor was really interested in selling it to us, he should be here.
One other comment, Mayor. I know the city entered into a $40,000 contract with a real estate consulting firm to evaluate what type of commercial development would survive in Apopka. And I know that study's not done yet, but I think that's an integral part of the economic development director's evaluation is to have that report.
Okay. Looks like everybody's kind of in agreement. And Commissioner or Member Smith, any?
Well, my only comment would have been in reference to the museum. We're talking about expanding, and definitely need to do that.
Yeah.
But I have no problem with allowing the economic development director to take a look at it and see the feasibility of doing that. But I think that would be ideal. We've been talking about the expansion of the museum forever, and they will need additional parking. So I think that would be a good concept to take a look at once the economic development director is on board.
Okay. Member Nesta, any thoughts?
No, I think it's been listed for a while, and we do need to expand our museum and have actually formalized parking versus kind of the dirt parking lot they have now. At the same time, though, I want to make sure that we just have a plan in place. If we are going to purchase it, do we have a timeline and a runway of when are we going to actually fund the improvements that we may be doing? Are we just going to buy it and conserve it just the way that it is and just keep it as treated lot there? So if we're going to purchase it, let's have a plan in place. I don't want to just start land banking for no reason. So yeah, as long as we have a plan in place, and I think having the economic development director give her wisdom and advice on that, I think is going to be vitally important.
And Mr. Howell, if the city purchases that and we are going to use it for parking or whatever expensive for the museum, will we still have to contribute to the tree bank?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, and let's go ahead and let's just, so I guess we're just going to need a motion then we're going to just continue this to, I mean, if it sells, like, let's say, she starts August 2nd?
4th.
Fourth.
Yes.
You want to say, give her the first meeting in September? More time than that?
It's not enough time.
Okay.
It's going to take her 30 days minimum
Okay.
to get acclimated to everybody, even the commission,
Okay.
even though she may have interviewed with the commission.
Okay.
Then it's going to take her some time to take whatever concept she had and see if they could be brought forward to Apopka. Then she has to have plenty of meetings with Mr. Howell, on the philosophy of each one of us here. So I think, to be fair to her, and knowing that she's going to have a lot on her plate relative to some of the items we're going to bring up, I think the first of the year would be more than ample time to bring this back.
Oh.
January.
Well, let's just, why don't we just
Why don't
postpone it
we wait?
indefinitely for now, just
Yeah.
in case, because,
Let her review it and let
Yeah,
her
yeah.
tell us what's a good
And-
time frame.
and I just got a call this week from Adela Armstrong. She is the listing agent for the property right there at just this side of the railroad track,
The triangle.
the triangle piece. So they've reduced their price. They've got a buyer, but they would love to sell the city, which
Is that where the laundromat was at?
correct.
Okay.
No.
So anyway, so maybe we'll do both, look at both those properties.
Right.
So anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, so let's just, I guess let's look for a motion then, to just postpone
Yep.
the process requiring the property located at 161 East 6th Street.
Okay.
Member Drago, you want to make that
All right,
motion?
so I move that we table this item until the economic development director has time to evaluate the project and bring it back to the board.
Okay, got a motion by Commissioner or Member Drago,
Second.
second by Member
Well, it could be
Velasquez.
Commissioner Drago.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, CRA fiscal year 2026 budget.
The redevelopment plan that was amended back in 2017 updates provided programs and projects that were approved by the CRA board. Budget approval meeting is currently scheduled for August 20th, 2025 at 6 p.m. unless you opt to change that hour here in the City Council chambers. Staff is requesting CRA board provide input on the upcoming budget in advance of the August 20th budget meeting. And please provide direction to staff. There was the current budget. This is what was in the computer system currently. And we also have the amended budget where the budget was reallocated for your reference, and provide direction to staff. This is what you would like to see in the budget going forward.
All right, questions for Bobby?
I can't even see this.
One option could be to take the reallocated budget from fiscal year 2025 and carry that forward into 2026, if that's something that's agreeable to the board, or if there's certain things you would like to see in the budget, let us know.
Well, the line item on a CRA RFAP, you have 300,000. But last meeting we agreed to 600,000. So I think I talked to the finance director, and she indicated that whatever allocations were placed in this year's budget would carry over to the new budget. So if I understand what she said, the 600,000 will carry over as long as it doesn't get spent. And I know we're going to have a long discussion on the policy and the contract relative to this program.
So Blanche was nodding in affirmative, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Okay. Any other questions for Bobby on this one?
I have questions about the business impact fee assistance program.
Mm-hmm.
That is, can you kind of go over that program?
Yes, that is basically to help impact fees for new and expanding businesses, up to 50% of the fees. So they can get up to a maximum of $20,000. It looks like it says. So that's really how that program works. To my knowledge, since I've been involved with the CRA, which has been a year now since last July, nobody has taken advantage of that one. It's probably a good economic development tool, honestly, to have something like that as a tool in the toolbox to help some of the businesses that are trying to start out in the CRA. At least they could cover some of the impact fees. I would suggest keeping that in the budget. The fee, I mean, you guys can determine that, the board could determine that, but an economic development tool, I would suggest leaving something in there for the businesses to take advantage of. That way we have more people relocate into the CRA, start businesses, expand.
Now, this budget has to be approved prior to October 1st.
Yeah, be approved by the board on the 20th of August, and then it would
This
be
board.
the CRA board. Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right, so I was wondering, Mr. Chair, if, given all these documents I have in front of me, if the new economic development director would have enough time to look at these budgets and make some additional recommendations that she thinks would be appropriate for the district.
Radley, didn't we send that to her?
Yeah.
I think we sent it to her. I mean, I know she's vacationing, and I'm almost sure she's gotten it because I asked Radley to make sure that we sent it to her just for her. Yeah, I wanted her input rather than have to wait a whole nother year for her input. So I will confirm that. Radley, if you confirm that with the members, please.
Sure.
Okay.
And that's definitely first on the list when she gets here.
Yeah. So
So I think if I hear what I'm hearing,
Yeah.
after her after she gives some input to Mr. Howell and the finance director, then the finance director then can put a more structural budget document together for us to look at in the August meeting. Or is that, you don't have the computer program for that? Or?
It's the timeline, because we want to have this budget incorporated in the tentative budget for the city, and that is September 3rd. So at your August 20th meeting, we need to finalize it in order to incorporate it.
All right, but that's enough time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what was the date? August?
The August 20 meeting, we would
Okay,
need
so
you to
that- yeah.
adopt, yeah.
August
So that,
20th is when we will meet again. That
But-
this has to be approved.
yes, it has to
so
be
that
finalized.
It can go in with
The tentative budget for the city
For the
on
city.
September 3rd. Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
And that'll be plenty of time for our new economic development director to review this. I mean, she's done this day in, day out, so I think she'll be able to quickly grasp this, understand where maybe she has some tweaks she wants to make, things of that nature, some advice, and we'll be able to adjust as needed, I guess, by August 20th.
Like for instance, the last meeting, because of the residents' input, we decided not to expand Alonzo Williams Park at $400,000, but $50,000 in there for water and electric upgrades. But in the revised 26 budget request, that's $75,000.
Well, that's the piece of property on Washington that we're trying to purchase. It's in a
It's in a
it's in
probate.
so we're having to wait till that. But that's right next to the parking lot.
Okay,
that we
I
are-
understand.
yeah.
All right, okay. That's
Okay.
fine, okay.
So, what is there an action that we need to be doing tonight on this?
Advise us as to what the pleasure of the board will be, what you'd like to see in the budget going forward. If you'd like to take the reallocated budget 25 and carry that forward, the pleasure. We'll work at the pleasure of the board.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I mean, we've kind of discussed this in somewhat decent detail, but I think the point too is we've discussed it, kind of agreed to this. Let's see what the economic development director comes in and says. If there's any adjustments, then we'll see that on the 20th. But
Okay.
I think it makes sense. We've discussed this in detail.
Yep.
Any other questions for Bobby?
No.
Anybody from the public wish to speak on this? Sure, come on. No, you have to come to the microphone.
Hi. I'm sure this isn't possible, but I tried printing out like the important or the parts, the certain pages of the budget so that I could like come here and have the facts. But it corrupted my printer. So I don't know if y'all could provide some
Can
of
you
that.
speak into the mic? Because I can hardly hear you.
Sorry, I don't know if you could provide some like resources of the budget so I could look it over. From what I saw online, it was a lot. I don't know, because it's like the same budget. Y'all keep saying CRA. I don't know if there's a different budget online, but I'm assuming it's the same budget. There was 100K. There was honestly like millions of dollars like allocated towards police and like new cops and new.
That's in our regular budget. That's
Oh, okay. So this is for
that's not CRA
redevelopment.
budget.
Okay, so because I noticed also there wasn't really any money for the community. There was not much, and if there was for the community, it was like these numbers are all less than like I think 600,000 was like the most expensive one. So like I would love if y'all could put our funds into the community. The property that y'all was discussing, I would love if y'all do not tear those trees down. They're gorgeous. I would recommend you walk past. They're like old growth trees. And I was thinking, since y'all want to make it like a expansion of the museum, instead of turning it into a parking lot, y'all could do like a park, like a community garden type thing. You could have plaques and infographics talking about the indigenous population and how Apopka got its name. You could plant potatoes. You could also discuss the segregation history. You know, expand the museum into like an outdoor conservative, like conservation area. Um, y'all, not y'all. I know it's not y'all, but the city has been selling its greenery at a very fast rate. Um, a lot of my favorite parts of Apopka have been turned into parking lots, honestly. Um, especially like that Winn-Dixie that they built next to like some ale house, some restaurant. It's literally just a parking lot. Um, and it's so not beautiful. And I know that on your website you have like community actions, and one of them is keep Apopka beautiful. And I think by redeveloping and like selling all of this land as commercial land and having like investors that like the real estate, if he's not even here, like does he care about that land? Does he care about those trees? Um, we could do something community led. There's a lot of organizers in the city. Um, there's food banks that we could work with. There's businesses that we could work with. There's a lot of other things we can do besides giving our money to pay for the police's shoes. Like that's so ridiculous. Every time I've had a job, even for school, I've had to buy my own uniform. I've had to buy my own shoes and buy my own shirts and buy my own pants, and we're paying for their clothes when we could be paying for like a sustainable garden, you know? I feel like we have other options and they're just not being discussed. So I would love if we could try better. I don't know. I'm just tired of the same cycles repeating.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Anybody else? All right. We'll close the public hearing and look for motion to approve the proposed CRA fiscal year 2026 budget.
And we're just moving it forward
You were
from
carried
25
forward.
to 26. So moved. Wait,
Hold on.
hold on.
The 26 does not include the carryover. Okay.
I'm sorry,
The
the
26 budget does not include the carryover. So is this a second, you were just presenting the 26 budget, correct?
Right.
And sharing the stuff that's currently in the 20. So that motion was to approve the 26 budget.
Correct.
But I thought that's what he's asking. And that's not this. This is the previous one. This one.
So we don't have a 26 budget.
This is the 26 proposed.
So the recommendation was to, if you wanted one in the budget, to take what was in 25, reallocate it, and
Roll
roll
it.
that forward to 26.
Okay. So
Does it need an official action or can it just get head nods?
Recommendation.
yeah, it's gonna come back because you don't even have the carryover yet.
Right,
Because I haven't given you the carryover.
right.
So this is just for the 26.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be coming back in August, and I will include the carryover at that time. This is just
So this is a preliminary budget that isn't finished
preliminary budget.
until we get the
of
carryovers.
right, because I don't have the carryover amounts right now.
So we don't need to approve anything then.
Excuse me?
We don't need to approve anything right now then.
We just want your input, so when we come back with the final budget, we'll be able to vote on
So
it, okay? This is just to share the budget with you, get your input.
This is
and
like
then-
just an informational session.
yeah, and come back and we'll put it in the
Okay, I'm just
final
confirming
budget.
we
and
don't,
that's
so we
when
don't need to vote on
they'll approve
anything
this.
then.
So then there's no vote.
Correct.
No, we just want your input right now,
Okay.
and then we'll bring it back for approval,
okay. All right.
okay?
All right. So everybody good with that? And we will bring it back at the
August
August
20th.
20th meeting.
Yes.
We will see you back here. All right. Old business. Residential facade repair grant program. Cliff Shepherd.
Mayor and council, I guess it's actually board and council, board members. You had asked us to prepare when we were under the sort of crisis edict from the legislature, among other things, a facade grant program that could be used to help us spend some money before we might be forced not to be able to spend it again. Obviously, the crisis abated, which took some of the time pressure off of this assignment, but nevertheless, what you have in the packet with you is a copy of the description of the grant program. You have a copy of the grant agreement, which would be entered into by the CRA and the awardee. What you do not have was supposed to be an exhibit to that I just emailed so that you would have it. I thought it should have been attached as an exhibit, and that's the pay application that the contractor and the grant recipient would sign, indicating that all payments for the grant would come from the city CRA directly to the contractor, and everybody would be on the same page. So whether they use one of our contractors or their own, all contractors would agree that their payments would be limited to us directly paying them per the terms of the pay app and agreement. So that is what you have in front of you. During the last couple of weeks, I got an email forwarded to me by Ms. Williams, who's not here today, but I did.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking there. I apologize. I see you now. Sorry about that. And I did send out the answers that I gave to her questions to all of you to help perhaps frame some of the discussion today, because they were good questions. And you'll see that a number of them say this is a policy issue for you all. For example, the very first one was something about, will this apply to multifamily? And the answer is, that's up to you guys. I would assume it applies to at least some level of multifamily, but would you want it to apply to an entire apartment complex when it's only 10,000? Probably not. I mean, I guess you could, but it would probably have to be a lot more than 10,000. So that was a question, but that's a policy. It's not up for me to decide. And many of the questions had a similar answer. We were asked for examples, for instance, about are there situations in which grant recipients are asked to return funds if they move within a certain period of time? And we found some examples and provided that in the answer so you could see that. But again, any of those questions about whether you do or don't do any of those things is up to you, as is what constitutes an eligible expense. We've made recommendations as to what we think legal expenditures would be. And those would be essentially the exterior facade kind of elements and things related to code compliance that might be health and safety related. You've heard me mention things like cloth wiring that might cause a fire hazard, or widening a doorway because of a handicap access issue, or something like that. I think those could probably be justified, but that's the program in a nutshell. And you can see what's here, provide additional input for how you'd like it tailored or changed or altered or however you want it. Or you can say, well, we want y'all to make a recommendation as to what you think is the best. We can do it, but we don't step into that role unless you ask us to.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Member Williams. Those are some great questions. I mean, thought-provoking questions that only an attorney could come up with those. But no, that was, so I appreciate you taking the time to really dig in deep on this, and so your efforts are awarded. So thank you. So I'll let you start if you got any questions for Cliff.
Cliff, do you think it makes more sense to kind of go through what you think are the policy questions and then have the board discuss it, or what?
Well, ultimately, I can do anything that you want. This is your meeting. And I did think that your email was instructive, because it may not be every policy question, but it certainly is a lot of them. And so if that's what you would like me to do, if that's what the board's pleasure is, we can do that.
Those and then we'll...
Okay, that sounds good. So the first question was, is the grant available for owner-occupied homes as well as rentals? And the answer given was, this is a policy decision to be determined by the board. And that's because it is. If you do not care whether it's owner-occupied as opposed to rentals, then that will be what the grant is written for. If you think, no, it needs to be by property owners, then that's okay too. But that's a policy issue.
Could I ask one question before to Member Williams? We were provided a Reader's Digest version of the residential facade grant program and of the contract. And there was some comments made on the right-hand side of the document. These questions that were in the email, does it include the grant program or only the contract?
So if my memory serves me correctly, I think a lot of those are consistent with what's in the document. So a lot of those should cross over or at least fall under the same subject matter, so we probably wouldn't miss much of those. I'd have to go back and look and kind of compare. But I know Mr. Shepherd sent an email, I saw, I think this afternoon, answering some of just those general questions that were in the body of the email. So.
For what it's worth, the way we go
all
ahead.
right. So let me give you an example, and I'm talking about the grant program. So I'm going to now, Miss Williams, you did do the I'm lost for the adjectives. Uh, the evaluation of the grant program relative to comments on the right hand side. So for the first one, you highlighted property must be within the CRA boundary. And then your comment was, do the properties have to be owner occupied? Can it be a duplex where the owner lives in one unit and rents the other, or will it be limited just to a single family owner occupied?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I didn't see that per se in the new document that the attorney gave us. The second comment you made was under irrigation from front lawns, landscape and irrigation. Your comment would this be considered permanent, since if not maintained or installed properly, the lawn would need replacing within a short time frame and grant funds are provided. So my personal opinion is lawn shouldn't be replaced, because if they don't maintain it, then you just, I don't say wasted your money, but didn't allocate it properly. Let me see. And the last one that you put in there, which was a good one, by the way, says all contractors must agree to predetermined payment procedures established by the CRA, including, and there's a list there. And your comment said should also have established amounts for the amount of grant funds that will be provided for a particular improvement. For example, up to $7,000 for a fence, but the amount could be lower based on the type of fence and the amount of fencing. Now, when I looked at the contract that the attorney drafted, there's an appendix back here that talks about the description of the project, including application, project estimates, and estimates of payment. So that I think is where the project could be saying John Doe's house at 5 Main Street, here's the itemized project, here's the cost, and here's the time frame in order to fix the items. Is that what the intent of that exhibit was?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
What I was trying to say is, based on looking at the email and also looking at the comments that were interlineated into the draft documents, it looked like they matched up really well. And so this email that answers directly these questions should tie directly to the comments that you see on the side of the documents and my answers to those comments. But again, we can proceed any way you wish. But again, the first question was owner occupied, yes or no?
I think it should be owner occupied.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it should be their homesteaded property.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Their homesteaded property.
we all good with homesteaded?
Well, so just to play devil's advocate, the point of the facade and the CRA is to increase in totality the CRA's value. Basically, that's the core of this. So it's not just to help homeowners; it's to increase the look, the feel, and the property values as a whole. So I understand the draw to want only owner occupied and not benefit landlords that maybe don't live here, but it's specific to the property. It's not about the person. These are specific about improving the properties themselves and helping a blighted area or an area that may need a little help to be raised up in totality, not just a couple small properties. So that's just my thought on that. That again, the CRAs, whether it's rental or owner occupied, it's especially this program as well, I thought was for everybody to be able to raise all the properties and increase all the values within that CRA.
And likewise, I don't have a problem with being rental property as well, because I'm probably going to have a lot of rental property that's not owner occupied. And I just think we just need to have the owner's consent if it's a rental property.
I think it would have to be the owner that would have to do it. the owner would still have to apply. I don't think the tenant could apply. I think the still landlord would still have to apply for the funds themselves.
The owner would need to be at least sign off on the application because you can't really fix or do anything to anybody's property without their permission. So that would be a necessary part of the process. But the question is, could, with the owner's permission, would we be upgrading properties that are rentals? And again, the argument you made is very similar to one of the adages that the FRA uses all the time, which is regarding CRAs, that the rising tide floats all boats. So whether it's a rental property or an owner-occupied property, if it increases in value and therefore increases the value of the CRA, then that's not necessarily a bad thing. But this is a policy issue.
But see, I also think by having it for homeowners only, the rental houses that are out there, it would, if somebody who's going to purchase it for a home, it'd be an advantage to them to buy the home if we keep the program going. So year 2 and year 3 and year 4, then there'd be we all know that having home ownership is better than rental, that people tend to take better care. They tend to, to be more of a sense of community. So if they had the ability to buy that rental house with the thought they could get next year they could get a $5,000 or $10,000, grant from the CRA, that they might, it's more valuable to them than it would be then to another investor going for that property. So
What happens if you have a homeowner that owns 10 rental properties?
And a lot of them do. So my recommendation is that we limit it to, if we want to include rentals, we really limit it to paint, but not to more, have a different policy in regards to if it's a rental property. But I don't think we should be upgrading potential for profit for rental units, because what they can do is they can use this program, renovate all their properties and sell it for a profit. So
wouldn't we have the same restrictions that we do on owner properties as well? That if they sell within a certain amount of time.
But I think most of these funds should definitely be allocated for homesteaded properties. And I think we should limit it to, if we are going to extend it, it should be for, really for paint, things like that, but not for the extent of some of the things that we're doing. That's just my
and one of the things, sorry.
Member Drago?
I have a funny feeling as we go through this document, we're going to have the same type of discussion. What if? Let's look at it from a different perspective. Unless the board changes the $600,000 budget for this for the residential facade program, and given the fact that the documents that the attorney prepared, even though they're legally sufficient, it's still a test trial. So if we want to test the program and the documentation that the attorney gave us, then I think we could, and this falls on the economic development director, because that's her responsibility, is to figure this out procedurally. We're just looking at it from a policy standpoint. So not to confuse her more, I think if we limit it to owner-occupied homes, knowing that it's only a test to see how many show up after October 1st to ask for the grant program. If you get enough people to show up for the grant program and there's a demand, then we can look at expanding the policy to property that's not owner-occupied but are rental properties. As Commissioner Nesta said, it does increase the property values of the house, and it does increase the productivity rate. So the next question is, what type of residential units are eligible? Well, I think single-family homes, duplexes probably would be appropriate.
And I don't know if there's any condos, but I think anything that you've homesteaded should be eligible. But
I mean, this discussion is great and we can do it any way you want, but at some point I got to know, okay, owner occupied, check, owner occupied with an exception, because I thought I had like a majority were one way and then two were a different way, but now it sounds like I may have the majority going the other way. I'm not sure where we are. So
right.
you might have to make a
Okay.
motion or something on each of these items so I know.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's the
What
cleanest
to
way to
do.
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I
yeah.
just okay. I think everybody's.
Mhm.
So, what's kind of a show of hands on who wants rental properties included? Got two. How many want just owner occupied?
I got
Okay.
one tweak. So what if it's the one question I have, like say if I have a duplex, I
Yeah.
live in a unit
You can
and I
I'm
have
good.
rent out,
I'm
then
good.
the whole
I'm
duplex
good.
is qualified. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
makes sense.
The next question was, what type of
Okay. All right. Number one. We got that one taken.
done, yeah.
All right.
All right.
Progress.
So what are we doing?
We're doing
We're homestead.
Single family.
initially we're going to eliminate
Homestead
the owner
only.
occupied.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Yeah.
Based on a
Gonna try.
vote of 5-2.
Yep.
The next question was, what type of residential units are eligible? Single family detached, single family attached, such as townhomes, townhouses, duplexes, and other multifamily. Our answer to that question was, it's a policy decision, but I said, this was my words, it is not recommended that program be open to typical apartments, meaning, 200 or 300 units, 50 units or whatever, simply because $10,000 isn't enough for something like that.
No, it's
Um,
30, counselor,
I'm sorry.
$30,000.
Yeah. Well, it's.
Either way,
I don't know where we are on the number because that's also the number that we were given at one point is 10. So I don't know where we are now.
Well, we agreed last meeting, and it's in the minutes, that $600,000, $30,000 up to 20 homes.
And maybe the way to do it is to say if it's multifamily, it has to be under a certain unit count and tell me the numbers.
Well, we've just we've eliminated multifamily wouldn't qualify unless it's a condo.
Right.
So,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
number two would just
Well, no,
be
it could be a duplex, could be a quadplex, and if I
Correct.
live in one of those
Just like
units,
Miss Williams.
well, that'd be you'd be home ownership.
that's still multifamily though.
You could have a situation where an occupant of a condo owns the condo and
Right.
is coming
Right.
in and he's got a 4-unit building that he's a part of. I mean, those are scenarios, and it's better that we try to figure it out now than leave the
Oh, yeah.
folks who are trying to administer the grant to figure it out.
Probably
So
maybe
multifamily-
just cap it at a duplex.
A duplex.
Yeah.
Okay, so single family and duplex?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that would
Well-
include single family townhome.
Townhomes.
Yes.
Condos.
Right.
Condo, yes.
No multifamily.
Correct.
Okay. All right. The next one was if the request for the grant is to address a code enforcement violation and fines have accrued, would the code enforcement fines be waived or reduced? Well, this is a policy question. However, there is a procedure for reducing code enforcement fines, and that's been spelled out here for you in the email. It involves going back to the magistrate hearing the arguments to reduce the fines, and then the board here making the decision on whether to do that. So that's the process. On the front side, if you wanted to make a decision like that, we'd have to look at how other ways we might have to amend the code to make that a possibility. So that, for example, there might be an amendment to this particular part of code enforcement that says that if you are an applicant for a CRA grant for a facade and you have code violations, in some cases it's under a certain number of dollars or whatever, then the CRA board has the authority to waive or whatever it is you want to do. But that would be a separate thing from the program in order to make it work, because it has to work hand in glove with the current code enforcement regulations that we have on the
As I'll
books.
say, how does that, if you're not in the CRA, I mean, when somebody say, well, listen, just because they're in the CRA and they're getting free money, I'm over here.
Right, that's an argument.
I'm not sure we want to go down that rabbit hole, but that's my opinion. But
I would
Well,
let
that-
it
well,
go
that
back
would
to
be
code
rewar-
enforcement. Let the
yeah.
magistrate
it's
decide that.
do the right, whatever they're.
That would be rewarding
Yes, bad
the
behavior.
owner for doing something.
Yeah, I will let code
Bad.
enforcement deal with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I'm
I
not
would
sure it's a
send it back to
reward.
the
I've sat in most of our code enforcement hearings, and it's not always just somebody ignoring it. It's somebody that doesn't have the money. There's a tree that fell in their house, and there's leaking, and they didn't have the money. They didn't have the insurance. A fence that's broken, a shed that's broken. So I don't want to paint it all as if it's just a lazy homeowner that is just going to suck off of this fund. It's people that every time I've been in almost every single code enforcement meeting since being elected, and it's not always just somebody being lazy. It's somebody's come up and said, I don't have money to fix this. You're going to find me either way. I can't pay the fine and I can't fix it. So do what you got to do, basically. So just keep that in mind as we're going through this. Not everybody is just lazy and trying to skirt the system. Some people just do not have the funds to do what they need to get done. So
Yeah, but
So
I truly believe with code enforcement, it was, the fine was issued by the magistrate. Let the magistrate decide. They get to hear the the story. It shouldn't be up to us as a board to decide, especially if we have a magistrate in
And that's what
code
they're for. Yeah.
enforcement.
Well, so what's interesting, and I appreciate this email, Attorney Shepard, is that I'm not sure I've ever seen, again, since I've been elected and gone to code enforcement, that the magistrate has never reviewed, again, the meetings that I've been in, any type of hearing to release or a reduction of code enforcement liens or fines. I
what?
don't think we go through that process.
Well, we can. Here's what happens typically, because it's a good question. What typically happens is someone, and it's happening right now, and if the Lieutenant Brick here, Captain Brick, I forget his title, I apologize, was here, he could explain. But what typically happens is the party who's got a fine, usually one of these large ones, then either approaches the lawyer if we're in the middle of foreclosure, or Mr. Brick before the foreclosure, and says, let's negotiate. And he has been given a certain level of authority. I don't remember what the authority is to negotiate fines without having to go to the magistrate, because it's ultimately going to be paid to the city. But if the code enforcement department say we're not negotiating, then the applicant has the opportunity, the person who's under the order, to go to the magistrate and ask the magistrate to intervene and say, hey, this is ridiculous, this is too much, there was reasons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I serve as a code magistrate for Kissimmee. I had my first fine reduction case yesterday. The person who made the application didn't show up. So they're not common, but they do happen. And I've been that magistrate for 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and you were on YouTube. It was very good.
I'm sorry?
Never mind.
All right, so we all,
Mr. Mayor, I think, I don't think we should complicate the process.
right.
Okay, so you're adding, fruit to cereal instead of just having cereal.
All right.
So on the code enforcement, if they
No.
have code issues, they cannot qualify.
Right.
Now, suppose, let me just be real clear, is that if they've already been hit with violations, or if they had code issues that can be seen, but they haven't been hit with a notice of violation yet. For example, there could be someone with a broken window, they haven't yet been cited. That's a code issue.
I think I think they're two separate. I think they're two separate issues, right? One is, if somebody is applying for the program because I don't know whatever the code enforcement issue is, they're trying to resolve and they're trying to use the program to resolve it. Then I don't think that should prohibit them from doing so, because that's part of the reason I think we were doing this, so that you have seniors and folks that can't afford it, they can address the issue.
Right.
The second part of it, to remember Nesta's point is, you see where people do want to fix it and they haven't had the opportunity or haven't had the, financial wherewithal to fix it. And now they're incurring, fines, liens. And then in that instance, you could have an outside investor come in, buy that property out from under those folks that have lived there for whatever, because they couldn't pay, couldn't resolve the code enforcement issue. So maybe what it is too, as part of that is, not that the CRA steps into the shoes of the, the code magistrate, but maybe part of that is on the application, maybe there's some initial review of whether or not there's a code enforcement issue. If so, and they resolve it through this program, that's something that they could be informed and educated about, where you can now go to the magistrate or whoever and request, that this be resolved, removed, reduced, whatever the case may be, so that now they're not in a position of potentially losing, their homestead or their home because they have this lien or tax lien, whatever it is. They're not in a bad position. So where we don't actually function in that role, but at least we kind of, or whoever kind of provides that information. So
Well, some of this can be a policy too, but for the people who administer this program, whomever it's going to be, they're going to need to have a bright line that says this person is eligible, this person isn't. So the question is, where's the bright line? If it is, you've already been cited, found guilty, and fines are attached, you can't apply, that's a bright line. But if it's, you've been cited, your hearing is coming up, it hasn't been decided, then you're eligible to maybe fix the things you've been cited before the hearing.
Yeah.
Alternatively, and this is a policy issue that really doesn't even involve this program, it involves your giving direction to code enforcement, is you could make a suggestion in certain cases that the code enforcement department deems appropriate, that they've cited the party and then they refer them, if they're within the CRA, to the program
Sure,
to see if they
absolutely. Yeah.
can
Yeah.
get
I think
fixed that way.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
that's outside this program. That would be for y'all to say to your
Yeah.
code enforcement
Yeah.
people,
Sure.
this is what we think you should do.
I think that's a
All right, so
Okay.
the bright line then will be if they've been hit with a notice of violation and found guilty and fines are accruing, then they're not eligible.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Number.
All right, the
That was
next
number
one
three.
is there a requirement or any statutory requirements for the residents to not be subject to any taxes, liens, or foreclosure? The answer to that is no. Not sure if this is an issue, but we should give some thought to the use of funds since there's a limited amount for residential units that have liens or are in foreclosure, since the bank or another party could potentially acquire the residence after grant funds have been provided for improvements. Well, this is a complicated question because if you have a mortgage, you have a lien on your house. And if your otherwise mortgage is up to date, or not up to date, I don't know. And neither would people who are enforcing this program. They wouldn't have a clue. And so the fact that someone who has a lien on the property, like a bank, in form of a mortgage, wouldn't, in my mind, say, well, therefore you can't qualify. And certainly, as long as it's improving the property, the bank's collateral is being improved, they're not going to have a concern about it. But if the idea is, if the property's in foreclosure and they're applying for a grant to improve the value of the property, that may be a place to draw a line.
Well, but I know that under Member Anderson's thought, which was the 5 year, then that would we would claw back. I guess they'd have to still meet they have to pay off the first mortgage, and we would get claw back after that if they were
I think we're talking about that's 5. That's question 5.
the timing.
The timing. That's
But
question
what I'm saying is if we.
This question's saying if there's a lien in
If there's
place
a lien.
already,
Right.
can they still
Can they still
apply?
apply for it?
Right.
Other
And-
than the standard bank mortgage.
Standard bank mortgage.
Right. So, I guess
Well, it's
is the point of the question, like if they are in foreclosure, let's not put money into it if they are in foreclosure, something along those lines.
But I think it's still doing what the program is intended to do. Even if they're in the property, or if they have to sell the property, or if the property is foreclosed, then it's still increasing the property value, which is what the program is intended to do.
That is accurate.
So it's still
It really is. How do you feel about it? If the bank is going to take it over anyway, does it bother you to increase the value of property that ultimately is going to the bank? And it may, because once the bank takes it over, the first they're going to do is try to find somebody to buy it.
Yeah.
And maybe the person who comes in to buy it will fix it up. Or maybe the person who buys it will come in to apply for a grant. Don't know. These are unpredictables.
But I think, this is kind of the same breadth of if we're not going to allow landlords to take advantage of this, why would we, if we know something's has a list pendens or foreclosure proceeding has been filed, bank foreclosures take a long time. So sometimes those houses are vacant for years before it's actually foreclosed on. So those improvements that we may have just done will just sit and not be maintained properly. So I feel there needs to be a line there as well of if it's in a foreclosure proceeding in any capacity that it doesn't become
I agree.
viable for us to be spending money on that.
Okay. So that's a new red line is the property has to not be in foreclosure. By the way, these things will be now boxes that have to appear on the application. So they have an additional purpose in just answering the question.
Right.
Are you in foreclosure? And then, of course, they will have to do a search of the records to determine if that's accurate. But those are the questions that will be asked.
So if
All
the
right.
property is in foreclosure,
They don't
they don't qualify.
They do not qualify.
Right.
And then what about, and I see the list there and I appreciate that of comparing it to other municipalities that have similar programs that on St. Pete's, they have unpaid property taxes. So if there's an amount of unpaid property taxes, they wouldn't qualify then either. Is there,
They
I
sell
don't know
the-
where the other?
They sell the tax certificates, and that's how the government gets their money. So again, why would you reward these people that's on the list? That's not the purpose of the grant program.
Well, we don't want to make the grant program so where no one can't really apply for it. I mean, if we felony conviction, I don't think.
But
I
it
don't
says
think we should-
felony conviction for financial mismanagement within the last 5 years.
I don't think we should get into
And that one, I'm not saying that. I'm specifically I'm talking about the tax one. It's specifically the one I'm referencing, not these other ones. Is just if they're unpaid taxes. Again, I think if they're not paying into this fund in some capacity, well, not that they were paying into it anyways, but if it's not being paid, if there's delinquent taxes to us, we shouldn't be giving money back to them, I guess, in that capacity.
But if they have unpaid taxes
They can still pay them.
and they have a tax certificate, at some point they can still go and pay it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mhm.
And then they can apply.
Then they can, well,
It's not saying you can't. You just those are things that because then it becomes it's almost a foreclosure proceeding because if I pay or purchase a tax certificate, tax deed, I can eventually get in line to foreclose. Whether if it has a mortgage, if it's homestead, different scenario. But so I think it's the same. It's a similar line of foreclosure proceedings if there's unpaid taxes there as well. And maybe it's, hey, if it's arrears, if you haven't paid taxes in a year, we're good. But if it's more than a year, you have not paid property tax, you're in arrears by over a year, then, but maybe that complicates as well.
Yeah, I think this needs
I
to be
think we should
foreclosure.
just stick with the foreclosure.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, let's.
Okay, so I don't want to miscount. Can y'all vote for me so I can make sure I got the right thing?
That's fine. Just the way with just foreclosure.
Just foreclosure. Okay.
Good on that. No, just
Now, with the
Just-
tax,
Just foreclosure.
foreclosures.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
we don't want to
All right.
complicate the program.
And this isn't, I mean, we can adjust and massage this as we start working through this program as well.
We can always
correct?
modify.
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So it's not locked
absolutely.
in right now. It's,
No, absolutely.
we can, if we start feeling this becomes an issue or and I assume some things will come to light, then we
Sure.
can massage this.
Just
down
as,
the
for
road.
example, we discussed maybe early after we see what response we get, maybe we expand it to renters. I
To
mean,
renters,
that's
Sure.
that's
if we're not
always
getting feed,
what
yeah,
you can
absolutely.
do. Okay. The fifth question was some of the home ownership down payment assistance programs require repayment of grant funds if the home is sold or rented within, say, 5 years. If the CRA wants to implement a requirement for the grant funds to be repaid if the home is sold within a certain time frame, then the only way I can think of to ensure that it happens is to record a document in the public records similar to a second mortgage that would be released if the property is sold and grant is repaid at closing, or which would be forgiven and satisfied after a certain number of years. FYI, in addition to what you see listed here, Tampa does the exact same thing. And in fact, they do it by virtue of a deed restriction that says the deed restriction requires that the house not be sold. And if it's sold, then either the new owner or the outgoing owner is going to pay the CRA, whatever the amount is. So that's not an uncommon procedure. So in addition to the program listed here by City of Orlando, Homestead, St. Augustine, Tampa does the same thing.
So Cliff, how much does for that document? How much would that cost?
To
A deed
prepare,
restriction.
The deed restriction. For
Oh.
us or them or
well, I would guess if you're asking me for preparing, we have them because we do them for Tampa.
Okay.
I don't know how much would have to be changed for this program, but it shouldn't be a ton.
Will we do a deed restriction? Shouldn't we just? I don't.
like hundreds or 300, 500?
It's well, you talk about recording or preparing. Recording is whatever the
Right.
clerk's office charges.
I mean, all in. What
Okay.
is that going to cost?
I think the last time I take it's like $20 for the first page and like $8 for every page thereafter. So if it's a 3-page document, you're talking about under $50.
Okay.
In terms of preparing the document, those costs can be, if you choose to, wrap them up into the grant. But the deed restriction and grant agreements, once we have a process, they're kind of going to be, fill in the blanks, which will be done really at the staff level. They may or may not even ask us to spot check them.
Okay.
And the deed restriction will be the same. The only thing they would have to change, and I do obviously recommend checking these things, but is the address, physical address, legal description of the property, names of the owners, and so forth. Because even when documents are set up to be easy to fill in, things get missed. But that's how it would work. And we would be involved or it's not involved as the people who are administering the program ask us to. In Tampa, we look at everything because they got a lot of money and they want us to look at everything. But
Okay. Yeah, I think we should be a part of that then. Everybody okay with?
well, I made a comment at the last meeting where I didn't see in the contract that any improvements that are done to these houses should run with the property, not with the owner. So therefore, the intent is if you make improvements to the property and the property gets sold after a year, the new owner, whether they like it or not, have to accept the improvements for the term of whatever we decide the improvement should run. Now, if for some reason they don't like the paint color, well, then they need to come before us and with justification on why it should be repainted. So I would say that, and again, we're making these policy decisions, and we have to understand who's going to implement it, and she's not here. So
Can I address that for a minute?
We shouldn't be.
wait a minute. No,
Okay.
the economic development director is the one that implements these policies, unless the mayor has changed his mind.
I have a concern about that I don't know the answer to, so it may be perfectly fine, but is that person an employee of the CRA or employee of the city?
City.
Okay, this is a CRA program.
She will
be the CRA
director as well. Yeah, it's part of her title.
Okay. So here's the issue. The issue is, if we decide that for houses, the improvements are good for 5 years, they can't make any changes unless they come back to us with the justification. So now the question would be, from a procedural standpoint,
That's not.
how does the economic development director track the improvements to the house over a 5-year period that nothing gets changed?
That's not what. That's
This
not
is
what.
this is about.
No,
This
so
is just that they can't sell the house in 5 years.
It's the same principle, Chairman.
So the
No.
so the question is, like, I don't think we should, like, if I buy a house and I want to repaint it, I don't think it's
oh, this is
our place to tell them that they can't repaint it.
Yeah.
And getting that type of minutia detail.
Right.
The primary function was to avoid the situation we were talking about earlier with investors
Flipping.
coming in,
Right.
benefiting from whatever that change was and flipping it. Or, or even a homeowner maybe saying, I'm about to sell it, let me do this, and then I'll get a little extra, on my purchase price. The thought is, just similar to down payment assistance programs, you get that benefit. That benefit has a certain life to it, if you will. And so, if it's 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever, then at that point, it's just that you repay that benefit. And then if you live in a house, say after those 2 years, that mortgage or restriction, whatever we want to call it, goes away. But then nobody has to track, okay,
Right.
on December 12th, 2025, they painted the house yellow, and now they're coming back. It's just more for the investment purposes and making sure that the people are doing it for the right reason, and that we aren't giving away money that
Right.
hasn't been.
in regards to the restrictive deed and a lien, I don't think we should be modifying the deed. I think we should just be putting liens on the property, not because they're only doing the restrictive deeds is when you're getting the down payment assistance program and the mortgage is recorded and they do it like that, but not with these programs. It's usually just a lien that's recorded on the property.
It doesn't
I know you
matter
don't
to
care
me.
which way.
I just was asked,
But
does this
from
exist?
looking at it from a lending perspective, when you start modifying the deed, then that can restrict them from different type of loans. So I think if we put a lien on a property, we're not restricting them to be able to kind of move around their property, how they want to move around their property. So I definitely recommend a lien, not modifying the deed.
And I guess in the same breath as this, this specifically is in reference to change of ownership. What if the homeowner goes to rent the property then? Is this inclusive of that
No.
as well?
No.
Because they're still the homeowner
Still
at that
homeowner.
point. Yeah.
So I can get the property, apply for this program, and then the next day rent it out.
Like
But if
you
I'm a
have-
landlord, I can't rent it out.
Absolutely. Because the intent, remember, it's all about intent. That's the same thing when you go through a down payment assistance program. A lot of times when you go through those programs, the FHA loans, right? The intent is that you have to actually occupy the property. However, if life happens, you get a job, you still allowed to move. You don't have to modify your loan. So it's kind of the same. The intent is actually there. Life can happen. You can get married or, family member come ill. We want to restrict the program where they can't allow life to happen to them. So
Well, I just think this allows for a loophole, a very easy loophole.
I don't think so. That's just, once again, we need to give them the same type of grace, like you said before. We assuming that that they're going to operate honestly. I don't think a lot of those residents that's in the CRA area intent is going to be to use these funds to modify their property and move out into rental investment properties.
And
You-
the challenge is, no matter what we do, if somebody wants to do something like
They're
that,
gonna
there's
do
a
it.
loophole.
Yeah.
So we can only address
Yeah, we can't.
what we can address.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
All right. So where are we at here, folks?
Where
But my issue is, you spend $30,000 on a house, maximum. After a year, they sell the property. New owner comes in, this is what I'm hearing now. New owner comes in and says, I don't like the paint job, I'm just gonna paint it. So that money that's already been spent after 1 year is gone.
No,
No, it's
You
not.
sell the house prior to the 5 years, you got to pay the $30,000.
And how does somebody know the house has been sold?
it gets
It's a lien
recorded.
attached. We're going to attach the lien to the
What?
property.
There will be a lien
Lien.
on the property.
So the new owner is gonna know that there's lien on the property and there was improvements made relative to the lien and they can't change
That has
the
absolutely.
improvements.
But that's not.
it-
That doesn't have any.
Satisfy
Has to
the
satisfy the
lien.
lien
That's
before
right.
they sell
At
the
the
house.
closing, the
So what
lien
does
would have to be
satisfy the
satisfied at
lien mean?
closing.
Let me.
They paid us our $30,000.
So what happens is the reason we're saying it has to be recorded in the public records. If anybody's doing a legitimate purchase and sale, they're gonna do a title search. The title search is gonna pick up that recorded document that says, "Hey, you have to pay this back." At closing, no bank or lender, no legitimate lender or bank will close without that being paid and satisfied.
You have to have the lien satisfied.
So
Okay, well, so will the new owner have the option to keep the improvements for the additional 4 years and not pay anything back to the city?
Well, the lien's going to be
it
released.
would already have been paid
Paid.
Yeah,
at
it
closing.
will have been paid at closing,
Okay.
Yeah.
and that's the whole purpose. So whatever purchase price that the buyer is paying, the seller will have to pay a portion of those proceeds through the closing escrow agent
The lien has
to
be
the
released.
city, just like a code lien or any other kind of lien.
Okay.
All right, we okay with that?
Yeah,
And I do like the repayment deferred for like I like the option where if it got kind of like 25%, not a full. You have to stay in a property
Yeah.
for 5 years. So
It-
like
it
a
drops
gradual it
After
drops.
the,
Mhm.
okay.
Good. All right. Number 6. We got to move
Yes.
on here.
So, sorry.
If permit fees cannot be paid from the
Remember,
grant
what did I
funds,
say? I was appreciate you bringing all these good questions forward. Maybe I should reconsider.
okay, if permit fees cannot be paid from the grant funds, can or should the city waive or offer reduced permit fees for any work performed with grant funds that would require permits? And the answer is, assuming most of the applicable permit fees fall under those outlined in Chapter 18, Buildings and Building Regulations City Code, then the Chief Administrative Officer and the building official can waive such fees, provided cause for the waiver is shown. The ability to waive, reduce any permit fee is not addressed in Chapter 18 and will depend on the type of permit being waived, reduced, and will therefore need to be determined on a case-by-case basis, and then the code section is there. So that really answers the question. There's nothing for you to tell me unless you think there is.
I agree.
I agree. Yep.
Great. Yep.
Okay. Number 7, who is managing the progress payments and obtaining the contractor's affidavits and lien waivers? Is it expected the CRA would handle that process, or is the homeowner responsible to provide the information before the CRA releases progress payments? The answer is, per the payment application that is signed by the contractor before the grant is awarded, they will get their payments from the city, and the city will only, the CRA, and the CRA will only issue those payments upon receipt of the correct documents. Whether it's provided by the property owner or the contractor or some combination thereof is not germane. What is germane is that the program will be administered by someone within the, and perhaps the economic development director. I don't know who, but whoever's administering the program will have a check sheet and say, do you have this? You have this? You have this? Okay, we can write you a check. And where it comes from, the homeowner, the property owner, the tax collector, doesn't matter. It's just that all those things are checked. And that's how that works.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. Number 8, if a general contractor is using subcontractors, are they required to register or have the subcontractors approved as well as the general contractor? As currently constituted, the answer is no. That could be the case, but I'm not sure it's a good idea. The contractor presumably pays his or its subcontractors through the grant, right? They're not paying them out of their own pockets, and they don't get the money until they have pay applications, partial lien waivers, complete lien waivers from any subs or material people they would have on the job that they can then cost pay them. And basically, here are all our documents. You hand me the check, I hand you the documents, and we're all good to go. That's essentially how that would work. Could you add that layer in? You could, but it would create difficulty because, again, you have multiple subs, you have multiple materials depending on what the job is and suppliers, and that could be fairly burdensome for whoever's trying to administer your program.
Agreed.
No, allow the general contractor to manage their subs.
Yeah.
Yeah, the general contractor is the one who's supposed to take the responsibility. So number 9, should the grant program have a schedule that sets out the amount that can be reimbursed for the specific improvements that the residents would like to make. This is also a policy decision to be determined by the board. However, the predetermined amounts for improvements may not reflect actual cost of improvements at a given time. We're in storm season. We get hit by a hurricane. Cost of everything regarding building supplies is going up. Wood, shingles, paint, all that goes up. That's what happens. If we said, well, we only pay $5,000 towards paint, paint alone might be $7,000 at that point, or $20,000. Who knows? And so you can put in preset limits that the maximum pay on paint is this, maximum pay on roofing is that. If you choose to, my suggestion would be leave it to the contractor to make an application that falls under the 30,000 and leave it at that.
Let them-
Y'all agree? Okay. Number 10, need to also consider what the construction agreement would look like unless the city already has a form that can be used or revised. This is an interesting one because the construction contract would be between the homeowner or property owner and if it's the way we're currently constituting it, and the contractor. And the reason you want that is because you want the warranties of the contractor to flow to the homeowner, not to the city. However, should we review those contracts? This is a policy question, but it would add a layer of expense. If we tell the homeowner before we can approve your grant, we got to get a copy of your contract so it can be reviewed by our lawyer, not only does it add a layer of expense for you guys that you may or may not want to pass on, but it also adds a layer of complication. If the lawyer, whoever the lawyer is, supposedly misses something in the contract, now the city has a potential liability because it had its lawyer review it. For whose protection? The cities, the property owners, the contractors. It sort of makes sense to stay out of that process. If you follow me.
I guess my question was whether there would be a standard contract that was part of the application, that if there was an approved contractor, GC using this program, part of that requirement is that you have to use this, not maybe your potentially not advantageous contract. So that was the thought process versus having to review.
If we were going to limit this to city approved contractors as I originally proposed, then 100% I would have, just like we did with the pay application, we would have a contract. This is the contract. This is where you describe what you're doing and you put all the stuff in. But because we've opened it up to other contractors
did we? I didn't know if we did or not.
We did.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the reason why that's not there.
Okay,
But
gotcha.
yes, if
Now I
we were
follow you.
going to do
Okay.
our own contracts with our own people, that would be part of what we actually sent out an RFP.
Okay.
Okay. Then there is, I think we're on 11 now, right?
Yep.
What is the maximum grant award per residence? Can somebody apply, and in what time period? I now understand it's 30,000. I thought it was 10 when we wrote this. And in terms of how often someone can apply, these are policy decisions. My assumption would be it would be once within some period of years for you to determine. And if, for example, they're turned down for some reason, then you might want to have a lesser time. So if you're turned down this year, maybe you can apply next year, calendar year, fiscal year, however you want to do it. Or you can say if you've gotten a grant within the last 5 years, you're not eligible to get another one for another 5 years. To some degree, this is going to be made irrelevant by the disappearance of the CRA in 2042, but that's a ways off.
What are other municipalities doing in this capacity?
I'm sorry.
What are other municipalities doing in this capacity?
Other municipalities, when it comes to the maximum grant awards and how often they can apply, they typically say that it's one per property. So it's
forever.
Yes, and because it's designed to cover those things. Now, we again, CRAs have a given life, and so by the time many of the improvements, roofs have 25 to 30 year lives, paints have maybe 10 to 15 year lives, and so forth. You could change that, but if you ask me based on the ones that I know of, they're okay. This property has received a grant. Now they might be able to, if the grant was 30 and they only got 15, they might be able to come in for the remaining 15, for example. But typically it's one and done for that property.
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. Yeah. That's
We can always revise
Well,
it.
when is
Revise
the
I mean,
CRA
it's-
sunsetting?
Maybe we start.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you.
Yeah,
one of
The
those. Or five.
CRA
we can
sunsetting
always, yeah.
20,
It has to be no later than 2042, I believe is the number.
2042.
Maybe something like that.
Oh, yeah.
I guess a period of up to $30,000 in a period of 10 years, and we look back at it later and modify it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I
Oh,
don't.
yeah.
Yeah, I like
As
that.
long as you have the money
Okay.
to appropriate, and you appropriate the money, you can set all of these parameters are subject to your review and change. That's the way it goes.
That's what I'm
And
recommending.
what was your suggestion?
Up to $30,000 for a period of 10 years, and after 10 years, you can apply for more funding. But within a 10-year period, only $30,000, up to $30,000. So that way, if you only need right now $5,000 within a 10-year period, you can come back and apply for more funding. I mean, we don't know, just something. I mean,
I don't know.
any
about
other suggestions?
10 years sound like a long time.
Yeah, it does.
5 years?
Well, other municipalities is what he's saying.
It's
it was
one.
forever.
It's forever.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, not do it forever. Let's let them come back in 10 years.
30 grand is a lot of money, and that should get what we want there. And again, we can adjust it if it's just showing, look, that there 30 grand's not going as far as we want to, or it's not making the impact that we want. We can adjust
Right,
it.
that's what I'm saying.
That's just something to start with.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And if we need to adjust it or feel that residents it's just not doing what we need to, then we can come back.
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
think it's
so what are we talking, 30,000
30,
for
10
years?
for 10 years.
Okay, all right, 30,000, 10 years. All right. Anything else, folks?
Yeah, I got 5 more. No, I'm just playing.
No, there's
And there's no math to this, right?
there is more.
There's no math.
There is more.
Oh,
Huh?
No, I think
30,000.
those were my primary
30.
ones. I think.
30,000. No match. No match.
You have it.
No match.
You
No
have
match.
it on the agreement.
I think it's at max.
Yes. Yeah.
No
So
match.
I'm going to read each one,
No
Counselor. Are you ready?
Yes, I can barely
This
hear.
is Miss Williams' notations on
Yes.
the agreement. The first notation was CRA grant policy. Need to add a definition for this term or note define this as a info in Exhibit C.
Oh, that was primarily just for Mr. Shepherd.
Yeah, but there's some here that are pertinent for the board to discuss. Second comment is there a definition for grant?
Yep, that's another attorney question.
Okay.
It's just a drafting thing.
All right, well, that's all right.
All right.
The other one is grant agreement. Defined term in the preamble is agreement.
Same drafting issue.
Shall have identified the source of funding. What type of information required? The next one is important. It says the project shall be conducted by properly licensed contractors or tradesmen, subject to the CRA approval. The notation is, if the decision is made to allow recipients to choose their own contractors, what would be the approval process for the CRA to approve the contractor? And my notation is it should be the board's approval.
Well, what was talked about and the way it would be set up based on prior discussions was we would put out essentially an RFQ, request for qualifications, and ask for people who are interested to be city chosen, if you want to call it, contractors.
No.
That's what we said we
No,
were going to do.
This notation
I
says
cannot hear you. Can you
the
speak in the microphone?
recipient's own contractor, not the city's contractor.
Okay.
So Ms. Williams wants to know who approves the contractor.
In that case, the owner. And the only thing we do is make sure they're properly licensed and
Licensed
bonded
and
and
bonded.
insured.
That's it.
And the city approves the application once it's applied.
Yes.
Okay. All right, the next one is clarify where the progress payments, well, we already clarified that there's a list in the exhibit that would list the items, the costs, and the time frame. You agree to that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next one, should this grant policy as the term CRA commercial grant policy is not defined or referenced anywhere else in the agreement?
That's another draft then.
This document is supposed to be that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you have Ms. Williams put down CRA commercial grant policy, but it's really
It's just a
Residential.
facade grant
Yeah,
program.
that's
it's
just
really a
drafting
residential
type
policy,
of-
right?
That's correct.
Okay. Good. The next one is to avoid confusion. This amount should clearly establish up front. All right. So Ms. Williams established the fact is that in number 3C, if the project was $30,000, that amount would be in that paragraph, and then in the exhibit would would itemize the cost per item and the time frame. Is that correct, Counselor?
3C?
3C.
Yes.
So the project cost would be identified in 3C as the number, and then the itemization goes in the exhibit.
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
all right. Next one. This should be separate. Let's see. She has and have received the completed disbursement of the grant proceeds from CRA no later than. And then Ms. Williams writes, this should be separate as there should be a time frame to complete the project and then a separate amount of time after the project has been completed and any necessary lien waivers and affidavits, etc. Well, that would be covered under the exhibit.
Yes.
The next one, Ms. Williams cited, and this is 4A, by the way. The grant, if not dispersed prior to the end of this agreement, shall expire, and this agreement shall automatically terminate unless the CRA director agrees to extend the term of both the grant and the agreement for good cause. Now, my understanding, and the finance director can explain that, if we were to approve a $30,000 grant in September and the project's not completed, it would roll over to the next fiscal year, correct? All right. So the money is already encumbered and rolled over. So that addresses that issue about the agreement should not be terminated because the project hasn't been completed from one fiscal year to the next. Okay. The next one is under 7. And she has the Florida statute grant recipient relative to records. Should this be an obligation of the city to receive the payment? It could be a requirement that CRA is provided comments with any necessary documents. A list should also be compiled of what documents are required, copy of the contract, scope of work, etc. So if I understand what you said is whoever does it has to provide the city with the scope of services, so we understand what's being paid for.
That's right.
The contract between the resident and the contractor, and then the payment schedule relative to the time frame.
That's all correct.
Okay. The next one is indemnification. 13. It says, well, the grant contractor, subcontractor, agents, employees alike, extension of performance, etc. Mrs. Williams' comment was add language specifically noting that the indemnification would apply even if the contractor is on the CRA preferred list.
Yeah, it can be added. Legally speaking, it doesn't add anything, but I'm happy to add the language.
Okay.
A lot of times lawyers do things that are extra that really aren't needed.
The other thing is, and I can't find it, but bear with me. There was a statement in the contract, Counselor, that granted the CRA director up to a year to allow an extension to projects. Now, I would say that the CRA director being an appointed official, not an elected official, but that should be limited to 6 months. And then if anything beyond 6 months, with justification, should come to the CRA board for an extension of the project.
That's fine. Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
One other thing, Mayor. I'm not done. I'm not done. In the contract that the attorney wrote, under 1B, Roman numeral 5, you have phraseology in there about historic preservation. Okay, so it reads, All work related to the project shall be conducted by properly licensed contractors or tradesmen, subject to CRA approval. After the grant recipient has obtained all necessary or required permits or government approvals for the project, including without limitation any zoning, historical preservation, or building permits or approvals. Now, this government, effective July 1st, signed Senate Bill 582. And the title of 582 is the unlawful demolition of historic buildings. That's a law. So I inquired, is there a possibility that a permit could be issued to demolish an historical building in this city? And the answer I received was basically yes, because you have an online permitting process. Here's a question I asked. And Mr. Chairman, this question was asked November 6th. My question is, if the house located at 21 East Orange Street, a house on the National Register of Historical Places, which is in the 217 plan, by the way, were to apply for a demolition permit and the application was submitted completed, would the city issue the demolition permit? And the answer? I believe it's possible, as we have online permitting now and we wouldn't know if the house or business were on the register. So the building department has no idea what's on the register relative to the CRA, and if somebody submitted an application, they could demolish that house. And that's not what the intent of the National Register is for. So I took the liberty, Mr. Chair, to write back to the building official. And I gave him the list of the 6 houses that are on the register, right? And I said the details are on page 23 of the CRA development plan. However, I would like to discuss with you a procedure that I use to assure that those structures are not demolished at will. And I know he has the legal authority to do this procedure. You can call me at so-and-so. That was sent November 8th. I've never got a call, email, invitation to talk about the procedure to protect those structures.
From
From your building
John
official.
Hanson?
Yes.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything about this until today, but I will say that it has potential direct interplay with SB 180, which you have a briefing on, and we could probably talk about it later, because SB 180 very clearly states the city can do nothing for the next essentially 3 years because we were in the zone of impact of the 3 named hurricanes. That would make pulling a permit for any development order or building permit more difficult. And so that would potentially directly conflict with the other charge about not demolishing historic buildings. And I don't know how that would come out, but that's one of the several problems caused by SB 180. So,
Well, he's on vacation this week, so he just left today, but we will make that happen. Okay. All right. Let's open it up to public comment on this program. If there's nobody who wants to speak on this one. So we want to get this obviously up and running by August 1st, when we were trying to get this done. So if we want to bring it back on the 20th, I'm perfectly fine with it. Otherwise, if you could. Oh, okay, sure.
Good evening. How everybody doing? Sylvester Hall, Rock Spring Bridge. I only have one question for us to the grant program. Have we been advertising it to the residents?
We're talking. Yep.
We hadn't got a program yet.
That's what we're trying to
doing right now.
We're trying to determine now. I guess right now when we're going to launch it. It was going to be August 1st.
Let me suggest the water report, the newsletter we get when the water go out. If we put it in there, just about everybody know about the program. It's very simple.
Okay.
That's the number one. Everybody get that bill. So if we put it there, it'll make advertising real simple. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I I thought that they were gonna like call our names, but I just wanted to say that we could like some things that we could implement kind of faster than other things are pop-up resource centers. We could partner with local businesses and because there's a lot of businesses that have big parking lots and they have a lot of space. We could put a pop-up tent, work with people because I know that there was a business deal with somebody to do a resource center here. I don't know. I read it, but that would work. As far as ICE, we can give direct support to Latin businesses or to all the businesses that are affected. There's a lot of Jamaican businesses. There's Honduras, Guatemala, Haiti. So we have a big population of immigrants, either first generation.
We're talking about, this is about the grant program. That's what we're talking about.
Oh, I thought it was for public comment.
No, no.
Oh, heard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Ah, okay.
Thank
My
you.
bad. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, now we'll close the public hearing. So anyway, if we want to get this up and running on August 1st, I would suggest that we let, between Radley and Cliff kind of put the finishing touches on the changes that we've agreed to so that we can get this up and running August 1st. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's your call. If everybody's good.
I think we kind of hashed everything out already.
Okay, we all good?
I don't think the lady will be able to do what she needs to do by August 1st.
What is it that you will be
What
doing with this
lady?
program?
The economic development.
No,
director.
this is, no, we're.
Well, okay, so let's
It's
talk about
rolling
the
out.
economic development director. If we modify and massage and do whatever we got to do with all these documents, I think realistically the program can start October 1st. Line up with the budget.
No, these homeowners are really looking forward to this program. We do not need to delay this program anymore to October 1st.
I
But
think what,
Mr. Chair, I don't know
Yeah.
anything about the young lady that you hired. I don't know anything,
She just need to follow the program.
about how she
Yeah.
takes information and digests it and come up with processes. And I've hired enough people in my time to know if you put a time constraint on it, you're going to have flawed results. You got to give her enough time to not only look at the documents, but whatever internal procedures she needs to adopt, because she's the one that's going to manage the program, check the boxes, and be answerable to the city relative to the program.
I think one of the benefits you'll have is, not to volunteer you, but, Bobby is sat through these discussions. She also has access to Cliff and Radley. And so, and it's not, it already kind of puts a guideline
Yeah.
and set for her to follow. And so she, should be fairly able to follow it and just administer what the policies are as part of that. At least I would
Yeah.
hope that would be the case.
and if, we could also even next year, as in the next fiscal year, we could, if we need to tweak it again, we can
Modify
absolutely
it.
do it. based
But these
on her-
residents are, they're
Yeah.
calling for this program.
Yeah.
They really are looking
Yeah.
forward to this program.
All right, so looking, I guess, for a motion to approve the outline we've given with Radley and Cliff, kind of putting the finishing touches on the residential rehab program. Look for a motion.
I just have one additional question, just clarification on the difference between owner occupied and homesteaded. Are we specifying a homesteaded property?
All I wrote down was owner occupied. The reason is homesteaded has a different implication. Homestead means it's for tax exemption, where an owner could occupy this place for say 6 months, but homestead a lakefront or something like that. That happens without citing the cities, but let's say there are commissioners in Florida serving in local governments that actually live somewhere else, but claim homestead in the place where they are elected officials. So I put it down as owner occupied because you have that situation where people live one place for a certain period of time and another place for another. But if you want it homesteaded, no problem.
Sounds like it's easier to administer owner occupied.
Yes.
Well, how are you? What's the proof, I guess, for owner occupied?
Well, some of the things would be, do they use it as a mailing address? Bring me several copies of bills. Show me where you're registering on a tax return, where you're registered to pay your taxes from. You don't have the details of what you're paying, but show me where that goes. Show me, black out all the amounts, but show me your W-2. There are lots of different ways. We do it here for elections with voter registration. We do it with driver's license. So I don't know what is ultimately going to be the acceptable list of identifications, but that's typically how it's done.
Will we create a list of we're gonna need at least this, and this?
One of the documents you don't have yet, because it's not able to be presented until I knew all the stuff that was going into it, is the application. And in the application, and if it's this economic development director or his or her charges, they will have to go through check boxes, and one of them, just like when we qualify for office, is okay. What is your proof of residency? And here's what I have. That's sufficient. That's insufficient. We will provide a list to the person of things that generally would be acceptable. But are they guaranteed? No. Obviously, someone can register to vote in New York and live full time in Washington, D.C. It happens with politicians regularly. And so it's not a guarantee, but those are the kinds of indicia of residency you look for.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so looking for a motion to allow Radley and Cliff to put the finishing touches on this grant program so that we can roll it out on August 1st.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Whoa, that
Oh.
was quick.
I'm
All right, I'll
surprised.
second it.
Shocker back there.
Miss-
So he get,
Member
give it to-
Anderson made the motion and
I'll second
Member Drago seconded the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Anything else on the
I want to make
for
sure the
agenda?
clerk knows how to spell my name.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right, well, we will close this meeting. We'll take about a 5-minute break. We'll be right back with the city council meeting.